Hi YouTube, my name is MacX1. I'm going to be making a bunch of videos from here on. First off, a starting guide, talking about all the different starting classes and the different stats and how they affect your character. What keepsake to choose, because there is definitely a best one, and why you should probably make a character and stick to one class and not be a jack of all trades. I also will be making a beginning combat guide, an advanced combat guide, and a bunch of PvP guides and videos after that. So subscribe if you want to see all that. Let's get started. First off, I'm going to explain what all the attributes do. That way, you know exactly what class benefits from each specific attribute. First off, Vigor. Vigor mainly affects your HP and your health pool, but as you can see, it also affects your fire resistant and your immunity. Every single attribute has more than one effect, but they all have a main effect. Here with Vigor, it's your HP. Vigor is definitely one of the most important attributes. There is some cases where you don't need really high Vigor, like if you're going to be a glass cannon, like a mage that just hits really hard but doesn't have a lot of health at all. But Vigor is definitely important. These first three attributes are the most important by far. The rest of them are all based off of the kind of build you want to make. Next up, Mind. So Mind affects what would usually be MP in other games like magic power, so how many spells you can cast. But in this game, it also affects your focus. It's called focus points now, because this game and the last game, it also dictates how many Ashes of War you can get out. So the more FP you have, the more spells you can cast, and the more Ashes of War you can do. Ashes of War are special attacks like melee attacks or magic beams you can shoot out of your sword or buffs on your weapon or parry. So FP also contributes to that. Endurance mainly is for your stamina, but it also affects two other things that are really important. Your super armor, which is what they mean by robustness, which is what governs how easy it is to break your guard. So the higher your endurance is, the harder it is to break your guard. Also, the higher your endurance is, the higher your equipped load is, so you can put on way more armor. Let's get into the more build specific classes. So Strength. Strength is what you want to level up if you want to use like a big crazy anime sword or a huge hammer or a huge axe or claymores and stuff like that. So all of these build specific classes, essentially they have specific weapons, you power them up, and then your weapons will scale with that. In the menu, it says what your weapon scales with. There's different scaling classes. So something says an A in strength, it's obviously a strength weapon, and you power up strength, it does more damage. That's essentially how the game works. Strength also affects your physical defense, which means physical hits. If you get hit by a sword or hit by an axe, it's going to increase that defense. So if you are going to do a really melee based build, a little bit of strength will definitely help because it'll increase your physical defense too. But if you plan on being a mage, attacking from range all the time, or someone really fast that dodges around all the time, or an archer, it's a lot less important. So, Dexterity. Dexterity, as you can see, attributes to more things in this game than anything else. Usually, it just affects fast weapons, bows, crossbows, whips, all kinds of complicated weapons that are kind of small and like daggers and whatnot. But in this game, it also reduces your fall damage. It makes your spell casting time less. So if you want to be like a really fast casting mage, you might make a dex mage, which was never really a thing until now. Usually you're just a strength mage or like a holy knight, but in this game now there might be some dex mages running around, and it also makes it harder to be knocked off your horse. So Dex is pretty important, but I'm pretty sure you can get away with the base stats you have in Dex if you want to make a strength build. Intelligence. Intelligence mainly scales your glintstone sorceries. It also boosts any of your scaling for anything based off glintstone like dark magic. It also falls under glintstone. It also increases your magic resistance, but that's only to other glintstone type sorceries. So it could be good to be a knight and have a little bit of intelligence. That way you take a little bit less damage from magic. Faith scales your sacred magic. A lot of different types of magic fall under faith. Sacred includes healing magic, fire magic, beast type magic, electric magic like lightning bolts you shoot from the sky or your hands, or buff your weapons with it. It also can cure poison and does a lot of weird little things. Having a little bit of faith on any build like 10 faith or 12 faith can give you the ability to do some extra healing and whatnot, which is pretty good for beginner players and early builds. Arcane attributes to luck in this game, so the amount of people you kill, it'll increase the items they drop. So every guy you kill has a chance of dropping his armor or some kind of item for upgrading your weapon, or just something can drop from pretty much every enemy in the game, if not every enemy in the game. So increasing your arcane will increase the chance of that. It also increases your holy defense, which is just one type of magic that falls under faith. It doesn't defend all the types of magic in faith. Like there's also fire magic in faith and it doesn't defend against that. Also poison and bleed magic and all kinds of other things, and it doesn't protect against that. Vitality. What vitality does is it protects you from being cursed. In other games it's called being cursed. I think it's called something else in this game, but essentially being cursed, it's a meter that fills up when you get hit by a certain type of enemy, and if it fills up all the way, you die instantly. And the higher the vitality you has, the harder it is to get killed by those enemies. I haven't seen one of those enemies yet. I'm pretty sure they're late game enemies. You don't run into them very often. Now, the certain type of sorceries it's talking about, from what I've seen, are all dragon sorceries. So if you're gonna make a character that uses dragon magic a lot, you're gonna want to power up arcane. Now, the thing is, you don't seem to find arcane magic spells like dragon spells or any arcane scaling weapons until fairly late in the game. So I don't really suggest you putting any specs into arcane early game. There's gonna be an item that you get or something that you can do that lets you respec your entire character. I suggest building your character around something else and coming back to arcane later on and powering it up if you need to find an item, and then respecking back to your old build, or powering it up if you want to use some kind of dragon item. Alright, let's get into why you don't want to be a jack of all trades, but you want to build a specified character, like a mage or a knight or a dex build or something. You don't want to power up every single thing, just what you need to. The reason why is because the way these games work is the community sets a level cap. Every other game it's been 125, except for Dark Souls 2 it was 150. And the reason why we set this level cap is because you can only invade somebody or do co-op with somebody who's 10 levels below you or 10% above you. That's how it works. And the reason why this is actually a really good thing is because otherwise you could be level 10 and have to fight a guy who's level 522, which you don't want to do, because in Dark Souls 2 that could have happened in the arena, because in the arena you could fight anybody. A level 1 build could fight a 522 build, and I did that all the time. They were called Havel monsters, and they had all the best armor, all the best weapons, all the best spells, and they just had endless health. I would have to hit them 400 times, and if they hit me once or sometimes twice, if they had a weaker kind of weapon, it would be over for me. I would have lost. You definitely don't want to be running into that. So if you want to actually find people in your world, you want to stay within what the community level cap is, and that's why you'd want to build a specific type of character, only leveling up what you need to maximize your character. Let's get into all the specific characters and builds and talk about what they're trying to be. So Vagabond is clearly trying to be a quality build. What a quality build is when you level up strength and dexterity and not just choose one. So it sacrifices the little bit of extra stamina, mind, and endurance that you could have by leveling up both of them. So if you have a pure strength build, you can put those stats into health or endurance or something, but you have to sacrifice a little bit because you're leveling up both strength and dexterity. I like to choose quality builds when I'm starting the game because I usually stick to melee builds. I've never been a big fan of the magic. It's just my preference. I like to get up and close and personal with my swords, but I choose a quality build because that way when the game starts, I don't really know what weapons I like. I might like a strength weapon the most, or I might like a dexterity weapon the most, and that way I can kind of stop leveling one and just completely make it into more of a strength build or more of a dex build based off of what I like. But sometimes I end up liking a quality weapon, so I'm happy I built a quality build. I also always sort of do like a Link cosplay where I make my first character Link, so he ends up being a sword and board kind of build anyways. So usually quality is the best sword and board kind of class. Who knows whether that's going to be the case in this game though. The warrior is clearly a dex build. He's got most of his stats into dex. He's got decent mind because I believe the Ash of War that the scimitar has is pretty cool. So I guess they wanted you to use that a lot with this character. But clearly he is a dex character. He's also got dual wield weapons. In this game, if you have two weapons of the same kind, like if you have two big crazy anime swords or two big hammers or two scimitars or two daggers, you do what's called stance attacking. It's when you press L1 or left bumper, you will attack with both weapons. So you have all the same attacks as you would do with R1 or right bumper, but you do it with both weapons, or you have like a separate sequence of attacks. But when I say the same, I mean like your rolling attack and your jumping attack and all that stuff. You have all of that, but you're doing it with both weapons, and it's going to look a little bit different, usually a bit more flashy. Pretty cool build though. It's like a stance dex build. Pretty cool. Hero is clearly a strength build. It's going to help you a lot if you want to use a big crazy weapon to choose something like a warrior, because you have a lot of points in strength already. A kind of a low level at 7, so it's cheaper to level up, so you can put quite a few more levels into strength. It's going to save you a lot of time when you're trying to use a weapon like a huge anime sword, because it usually takes about 30 or 40 strength to wield one of those with one hand or just be able to use it to the fullest. So it's a really good start if you're trying to use a big weapon like a crazy hammer or a big battle axe or just anything really large is usually strength scaling. The Bandit. The Bandit is obviously spec'd out as like a dex build. He has a lot of arcane, so if you know for a fact that you're gonna go around killing all the dragons, grabbing their hearts and making all the dragon magic. That's how you make dragon magic, by the way. You have to get all the dragon hearts in the game, so you have to go around and basically be a dragon slayer. Maybe that's why he has a bow and arrow, even though I feel like bow cheesing the dragons will take 1,000,000 arrows, but otherwise he's kind of spec'd out as an archer build. He'll do a lot of critical damage, which means like getting parries or backstabs with the dagger. One other cool thing about the Bandit is he's the next lowest level character other than the Wretch, who starts out as level 1. He's only level 5, so you have a lot of room to spec him into whatever you want. So you can easily find loot off of killing other enemies with his amazing luck that he has from Arcane, and then go around and kill the dragons with that good loot and make like your dragon slayer build or whatever, or your archer. Really cool character that way. Astrologer is obviously a mage build. He's got really good intelligence, really good mind. He's got decent dexterity. He's kind of like a ranged build. If you want to attack from range, he's a great starting build. That way you can sit back and let your friends do all the damage up close and take all the heat while you attack from range. Great for starters. Also, because he's got good dex and good good mind, you could build that Dex Mage from here and use like a really fast sword, like a scimitar or something, and then a lot of magic at the same time. Prophet is essentially a faith build. You got really high faith, also really good mind again. So if you want to build a faith character or a pyro, someone that uses anything that faith scaling, he's obviously the choice. A really great starting character as well, because all the healing magic falls under faith. So it's really great if you're a beginner to have all the extra heals that a faith character can have. You also can learn pyro magic and lightning and whatnot. So it's pretty cool that way as well. The samurai, in my opinion, is a two-handed dex build where you use both your hands on your sword, because the shield only does 2 more defense than the sword. So you might as well just two-hand your sword so you get extra damage. And if you're gonna block, just block with your sword, because it's only 2 more damage that you're gonna take than when you use your shield. So you might as well just unequip your shield so you roll a little bit faster. Otherwise, you have a great bow, you have an amazing sword in the Uchigatana, you have the most endurance, which is why I think he's a two-hander, because that means you're supposed to dodge a lot so you don't get hit very much. And yeah, great starting class, awesome armor, awesome sword, everything about it's pretty cool. The longbow is great, its weapon art is amazing. The prisoner is definitely that dex mage that I was talking about. He's got great intelligence, he's got a weapon to cast with, as in the wand, he's got a beautiful sword, as in the Astok, one of my favorite swords. If I like magic, I would have chose this character probably, but it's not really my cup of tea with the magic. But the S-Stock is incredible, great for PvP. It does damage through shields. Even if it's 100% physical, the S-Stock is still gonna do some damage through the shield. Great sword, cool character. In my opinion, the Confessor is the strongest starting class. You're a quality faith build, so you got good strength and dexterity and faith, and as that, you have 100% defense shield, physical defense, so it's a great shield to start out with. And you also have the 14 faith, which means you have early access to healing magic, so it's a great starting class for beginners. You'll have those extra heals. Great class. The Wretch. The only time you really need to choose the Wretch is if you know exactly what build you're trying to make and you want to maximize it the most, or if you're trying to do some sort of level 1 playthrough. By far, the best item to choose as a keepsake is the Golden Seed. What it does is it lets you get another flask. The flask is your healing item, so this gives you a whole extra healing item early game. Everything else here you can get really early, much earlier than you can get a Golden Seed. Everything else is kind of not as important. The Golden Seed is a whole other flask. You'll only get a couple to start with, and this is another one, so it's a big help. I don't really think there's a great reason to choose anything else unless you know exactly why. Like if you need to choose a stone sword key, which unlocks a door to get interesting items, but you have to know what's behind that door, and there's a lot of them. So it's kind of like a gamble if you choose that. Otherwise, one thing I want to say is for character creation, making your character look the way you want to is important, but you're not held in at all. Once you get to the hub area, which is pretty early, there'll be a mirror in a room with a lady off to the right, and you can use that and change the way your character looks entirely. Change everything about your character. So don't worry about being locked in with your character creation. I definitely wish I knew that off the bat, because I made my stream watch my character creation for like an hour and a half, and I could have just started and done it later. But what can you do? So if you liked the video, leave a like. If you got any suggestions or any tips, anything that I missed, leave a comment. If you got any questions, come hang out on stream. The link will be in the description. Have a nice day, guys, and good luck with your Elden Ring journey.